Welcome to Chapter 2. This week we are going to talk about famous people or people that were famous in the quality world. The chapter is entitled Quality Advocates. I want to first start out talking about Dr. Armond Feigenbaum. He was born in 1920 and he was really ahead of his time because Feigenbaum was all about defining quality as a customer's actual experience with the product or service. He wrote a book entitled Total Quality Control that got really a lot of publicity. Let's take a look again at his definition of quality. It's my favorite. He said quality is a customer determination which is based on the customer's actual experience with the product or service, measured against his or her requirements, stated or unstated, conscious or merely sensed, technically operational or entirely subjective, always representing a moving target in a competitive market. I think this particular definition is really very much applicable in this world today. He was the very first individual who said you need to treat quality as a fundamental business strategy. See, back then when he started to become known in the quality world, most companies said that the most important thing to customers is the price, it's not quality. They assumed that as long as they were the cheap producers, customers would buy their products. Now Feigenbaum said no, that's not true. You need to have a quality product that's more important than price. He said that, after a year or so the price is long forgotten, but the quality is what's important to your customer. Feigenbaum was also known for the concept of a hidden plant, insights that wastes time that you have to use to correct mistakes. That related to the idea that much extra work is performed in correcting mistakes, that there is effectively a hidden factory within any factory. So the hidden factory means that much of the capacity is wasted by not doing it right the first time. Armond Feigenbaum also said quality is not a factor to be managed, but a method of managing, operating and integrating the marketing, technology, production, information and finance areas throughout a company's quality value chain. This means he was an advocate for making quality everybody's business, not just the quality department's business. In the 50s, he predicted that quality would surpass price as the top issue for decision making for consumers. American manufacturing didn't pick this concept up until the 80s, till after Japanese sent a lot of cars to America in the 1970s and took over the market, where American manufacturing hit a real slump because Americans were buying Japanese cars because the quality was perceived as better. So after the Japanese came in, flooded the markets with cars, did America wake up and realize, wait a minute, we need to produce quality products or we're going to go out of business. Well, Feigenbaum advocated it already in the 1950s. Here's a quote that I really like. I truly believe that quality is remembered long after the price has been forgotten. Another famous quality advocate, my favorite, is Dr. Walter Shewhart. He's the father of statistical process control. If Walter Shewhart wouldn't have invented the statistical process control, we wouldn't have a class about it right now. He lived 1891 through 1967. He defined two aspects of quality, a subjective aspect of quality, kind of what the customer wants in their own words, and then also the physical properties of quality, which are more objectives. Those are the terms that we use to describe what the customer wants in measurable terms. So the customer may say, I want a part that works, and the physical properties that relate to that may be the specifications for that part that are actually outlined. Dr. Shewhart was the first person to encourage the use of easy-to-use statistics to remove variation. He did coin the terms common cause variation and special cause variation. Those become important when we look at control charts. Common cause variation is just the noise of the process, the regular normal variation that's always going to be there. Special cause variation is that uncontrolled variation, that extraordinary variation, where something special happened to bring your process out of control. Dr. Shewhart proposed that controlled and uncontrolled variation exist. Like I said, there is common cause variation and assignable cause variation. He said that a phenomenon will be said to be controlled when, through the use of past experience, we can predict, at least within limits, how the phenomenon may be expected to vary in the future. Here it is understood that prediction within limits means that we can state, at least approximately, the probability that the observed phenomenon will fall within the given limits. That means that if we have a process that displays common cause variation only, and has so displayed that for the last couple of weeks, so we know we have a controlled, predictable process, we can be pretty sure that if we don't change anything to that process, we're going to continue to have a controlled, predictable process and feel pretty good about our customers getting good parts or good services. A little more detail about common cause and assignable cause variation. Common cause variation is that controlled variation that's always going to be there. It's normal. It's usually small in magnitude. We typically don't worry about it. And then there's assignable cause variation. That's we call uncontrolled variation. It's caused by something that's not normal to the process. So we're trying to assign a cause. Dr. Shewhart was the inventor of control charts. They were originally called the Shewhart charts. Now they are called statistical process control charts, SPC charts, just control chart, or process behavior chart. Plotting data on such a chart will tell us if the process is out of control, which means we have assignable causes, or if it's in control, which means we only have common cause variation. Now Shewhart is the gentleman that originally came up with the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle for analysis of problems. That's a structured problem-solving approach that's even used today by many companies. Demming also adopted the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, so sometimes it's called the Shewhart cycle, sometimes the Deming cycle, but your book says Shewhart is the first one who came up with it. Now the Deming cycle can be compared to the Six Sigma methodology. You know, you have Plan, Do, Study, Act. In the plan phase, you establish your objective for your project. You figure out what your project is all about. So that's comparable to the define phase of the Six Sigma model. The Do phase is comparable to the improvement phase of the Six Sigma model. In the Do phase, you implement your solutions. Now in the study phase, you figure out if whatever you implemented in the Do phase did really work. So you study the results of the new process. And then in the Act phase, you figure out if the results of your study show that you did really find the root cause of your problem. You show whether you really solved your problem. And then if you did solve your problem, you institutionalize the changes. You make it so they are always implemented. You make the changes permanent. Another quality advocate was Dr. Demming. He probably was the most famous one out of the three that I mentioned so far. Your book calls him the father of quality management. Demming had strong humanistic philosophies. He said that problems in a production process are due to flaws in the design of the system, and not because the workforce is not motivated or lazy. And he said, guess who is responsible for the system? It's management. So he talked a lot about that it's management's responsibilities to make sure that there's good processes and systems in place. He also said quality is maintained and improved when leaders, managers, and the workforce understand and commit to constant customer satisfaction through continuous quality improvement. So again, Demming harped on customer satisfaction. Demming came up with an economic chain reaction. He said, if you improve quality, that will decrease cost for your company, fewer mistakes or delays are made, you'll get a better use of your resources, you'll have improved productivity, you capture a larger market share, you stay in business, and you provide more jobs. Demming was also famous for his 14 points, and I'm going to let you read those on your own. They're also described in your book. The 14 points are still prominent today. If you were to go for an MBA, Masters in Business, chances are you would have to study Demming's 14 points because they still work today. They're good points of management. Notice the last one on this slide, constantly and forever improve the system of production and service. So he harped on continuous improvement. He also wanted very much to drive out fear in companies. Demming had some nice simulations that he liked to put on to large groups of management. One of them was Demming's red bead experiment, and we kind of simulated that in a class, so that's the next video that you can watch. It's Demming's red bead experiment.